Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the upcoming Sony PlayStation 4 video game called The Last of Us Part 2. This long anticipated video game is finally coming out later tonight as of the recording of this video. And today we're going to share a new special leak with you guys that came out just before the game was about to release. Now, by the time this video comes out, the game will probably already be out, but whether or not we'll reach this cutscene that people are talking about by then is still to be determined. So I wanted to talk about it and give you guys a little bit of a review and talk about why it's super cringy, because this new scene has The Last of Us going full Brokeback Mountain. That's right. If you guys don't remember that movie from the mid-2000s, Brokeback Mountain was a film where two guys would go together and go camping and have their own little gay relationship secretly out in the woods, and it was a very emotional love story that had a lot of heart to it, and it was actually very moving and riveting back in the day when it came out. It also came out in a very different time when gay people were still fighting for rights like marriage and other stuff like that, so it had a lot of momentum and a lot of reason to exist. Now, as for The Last of Us Part 2, this is just a thing coming out of nowhere. There's this new scene that's been released in the new game that shows one of the new main characters called Abby, and she's hooking up with this guy, and it's a very graphic scene that really reminds you of Brokeback Mountain, but for all the wrong reasons. This is just like really graphic, really out of place, and it doesn't fit in with the story and the narrative and what's going on in the video game. We're going to talk about it, break it down, and give you guys the whole gist soon, but first, let's just take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. With all this talk about diseases and other viruses spreading around and people required to wear face masks all over the place, why not get yourself a very professional one from Freedom Mask today? And if you order from NoBS, you can save up to 60% on this very comfortable, very stylish new mask that also has washable filters. Most importantly, it'll keep you safe. It'll protect you from contaminants. It stays safe from polluted air and environmental pathogens and all that stuff. So it's a good deal and only available to the audience today. So I'm very excited to offer it to you. You can get 60% off if you order just by clicking the link below this video. Make sure you check out that exclusive link, check it out, support the show, and get yourself a Freedom Mask today. Great, now that that's out of the way, let's get back to The Last of Us Part 2. As I said in the title and in the intro, they're going full Brokeback Mountain, and they're having this really gay love scene that's kind of shoved in there for no good reason. So in a way, it's not actually as cool as that movie. Now, I'm not a big fan of that movie, but I just admit that it was very artistic. It had good actors. It won awards. It had a great director, Ang Lee, and all kinds of stuff behind it. But as for The Last of Us Part 2, this is just a story of a company trying to get woke, trying to virtue signal and show that they're down with these leftists, these SJWs. They want to be down with alphabet people, so that's why they've inserted them in their game. Now, Naughty Dog is the creator of The Last of Us, and they've been known to do this in recent years. They also kind of ruined their other franchise, Uncharted, when they came out with Uncharted 4 and infused a lot of feminist stuff in there. They let the girls take over. They put in this unstoppable female badass, and then they also had a spin-off that was girl-led from that game that came out in 2017. Now, since that time, they've been developing The Last of Us Part 2, and we all know the story from the get-go. It's been kind of a mess. It's been getting really bad initial reviews, at least from the players. Now, this is not very congruent with the actual reviews from the game's reviewers, the actual critics, who have all given The Last of Us Part 2 like nearly perfect scores, which is very suspect. Many people think that's biased and possibly those guys got bought off, or they're just trying to be woke and kind of toe the line with the leftists, because basically this game is kind of like a Ghostbusters 2016 situation where if you don't support it, they're going to call you like a sexist, a bigot, they're going to call you a homophobe, all that stuff. Like The Last of Us is a very much similar situation, and it's pretty much the only thing we have coming out this summer that could fall into that category, since all the movies have been canceled, since everything's been rescheduled due to this virus, due to this pandemic, all this other stuff. The Last of Us truly is this moment in the summer before an election, like whenever 2016 Ghostbusters came out before that election. Well, now we have The Last of Us Part 2 getting totally woke, ruining a great franchise. People love the first game. It really didn't have much, if any, political stuff in it, besides maybe some overtones of like, society and stuff about life or death, but it didn't have anything to do with like SJW stuff like this new game. This new game features a new character called Abby. She's, of course, a T character, an alphabet character who famously has been revealed in other leaks that she kills the main character, Joel. And that's kind of what brings us to this new story, because that's what happens and what leads into this scene, this Brokeback Mountain scene that everyone's talking about now. So first, let me turn to this article. There's an article from Reddit. It says the Abby sex scene leaked. And here you can see a still of her and her new partner. This guy's apparently named Owen. And basically, I can't show you the clips because they're very, very much like flagging anyone who talks about this too much or shows any clips. So we're just going to talk about what happened in my kind of recap of it. And basically, from what I saw, this is Abby. She walks into this guy's boat. This is a boat. You can see they're in the lower deck of a boat here. And she walks in and starts talking to this guy. And what they start talking about is Joel. Like recently, they just had to kill Joel, who's like the main character from the first game. Now, we're getting into some spoilers. We're getting into some details. You know, you might not want to see this if you actually still want to play this game. I don't know if anyone still does. I know I'm very, very questionable now. I usually play these things right away, but I'm not even sure I want to anymore. I think I just want to make a couple videos and forget about it. Maybe play it one day when it goes on sale. It's inevitably going to go on sale because this thing is just really going to tank, in my opinion. But basically, back to this scene. This is the scene that leaked that everyone's talking about. And Abby comes and talks to Owen, and what they talk about right away is, oh, do we need to kill Joel? Like, should we have killed Joel? And then ipso facto, they lead into a kiss, and they start having sex like right away. It's kind of graphic, really hard to kind of describe without getting in trouble here, but already you can tell it's kind of out of place. It seems forced. And these two people, they've just kind of met and they have one kiss, and then all of a sudden they flip each other over and start having very, very hard intercourse. And the other thing worth noting that people have commented about is this Owen guy apparently already has a partner, and they're pregnant, and that he has a wife and kid on the way. And then this guy, of course, is Abby, who's also probably T, and you actually kind of figure out their T in this scene because they start to take their clothes off and you could see that they're both dudes. And then what happens is they flip him around and he just goes right into the back of Abby, which is also another thing that's really like just graphic, gross, and not realistic either, because there's no like foreplay or leading up to this at all. Like all of a sudden the guy is ready to go and then Abby just takes it in, and there's just really, really weird faces. And I mean, I think that's about all I could say without getting too far into it, without getting too gross. But it's just really upsetting, really kind of weird. Here's them talking, and you know, it leads right into them going at it. We're not going to be able to get that far in the images, but basically, this is very hypocritical coming from Sony, because this leads to another story, another recent thing they got into. Because as a side note here, before we're going to get to some comments and some reactions to this video leaking on Reddit, which it's already been deleted off Reddit. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to find it again. You can look around the internet and find stuff, but they're going to try and take it down. Like Last of Us was taking everything down on the last leaks too. So this is just kind of last minute, and we'll see if it even goes. But basically, the reason this is so hypocritical from Sony is they're the same company who has pandered to this woke crowd in different ways. Like, for example, they've gone along with the BLM stuff. They posted the image with the black square and white text in it, supporting all this BLM stuff. But that's not the hypocritical part. The other part is they've also kowtowed on animation, and they've started to censor some of their anime content. They have different games, like some of these Japanese games have anime characters. Some of them have like over-the-top cleavage and girls wearing just kind of scantily clad bikinis and stuff. And that was stopped by Sony. Sony called that out. They said that was sexist and inappropriate, especially for children, this and that. And that's just very shocking to now see that they have this really serious sex scene in their new Last of Us game. I mean, maybe their defense is this isn't a game for kids, it's a mature game, whichever it may be. But I still think it's very, very weird and contradictory. And also, it's just out of place. Like we were saying, back to The Last of Us, like the first Last of Us game didn't have anything like this. Like there was no sex scenes, there was no alphabet stuff, there was no woke stuff, nothing like that. It was just like a heartfelt story about a guy who saves a girl. They go across the country, fight some bad guys, yada, yada, yada. You know how that can go. It's just really well done. And this new game, it just goes in a totally different direction. Now Abby's the main character. Now we have a trans man character, which isn't like inherently bad. Nothing against those type of people at all. But the way they do it here and the way this guy is all ripped up and then they go right into doing it, like it's really, really off and like super hard to watch. Like I don't even recommend watching this. Like I don't even know if I want to play the game. This is definitely a cutscene you'd want to skip. So here's some comments kind of backing up what I was saying. It says, wow, what an emotional scene with those capital letters showing they're not serious. Seriously, though, they were having a discussion about if killing Joel was the right thing to do, and Druckmann decides the best way to end the scene is doggy style. Wow, such innovative game writing. Kojima and Yoko Taro take notes. So just kind of mocking him, showing that this writer, Neil Druckmann, is the creator and writer for this game, and he's just really fallen off. And then here's a technicality part that I was trying to hint at. It says, how did he get hard so quick and entered a clinched B-hole as soon as he lost his pants? I mean, this is just not realistic either. And here's another good joke. Abby taking it naughty doggy style. That's a no from me. Someone says this game has officially lost me. Those flashback scenes almost got me. I would have stopped after playing this scene. Top Keck. What kind of writing is this? So Owen has a girlfriend, Mel, who's pregnant, but he ditches her for no reason. Abby and Owen are arguing about killing, torturing people. All of a sudden, then, they decide to have sex after a 5-second kiss. The Jesse, Dinah, Ella love triangle, this Mel, Owen, Abby circus, it reads like a high school drama plot. Meanwhile, we learn nothing about the fungus, a possible cure, or anything. Humans are the real monsters. So this is just more pointing out how they're getting obsessed with like love triangles and making it this kind of soap opera. And this is just a whole other thing that's wrong with it. Like the guy said, we're not getting anything new about the virus that's in the game, a cure, survival, creating society, or, revamping, fighting the villains or something like that. No, all we get is two love triangles that are really not explained. Like there's no justification for Owen cheating on his pregnant wife. There's no like real build up to them hooking up, just like a quick kiss. And that's all we got. And then this person ironically says, now I understand critics losing their mind with the 10 out of 10s. Yeah, I think that's a joke saying the critics don't know what they're talking about. And then other people like seeing these 10 out of 10 saying, what are you talking about? It's like, how could this be a 10 out of 10 game? I really don't see it. I mean, I'm really curious what the gameplay is going to be, because if it's just like similar upgraded style from The Last of Us, which is to be expected. I mean, that's how you do most sequel video games. It's going to be The Last of Us Part 2. So it's Last of Us, same kind of, stealth gameplay, bow and arrow, some weapons, some fighting head on, riding horses, that kind of stuff. And I just don't see them upgrading that too much, like to make it this groundbreaking 10 out of 10. I mean, I wouldn't even call the first Last of Us 10 out of 10. Maybe you could give it 9 out of 10 if you're a really big fan and it's like the best thing for you. But to call it a perfect game is really, really a stretch. And to say this new one is, it just screams cover up to me. It screams like we're putting a 10 out of 10 on everything. All the critics are trying to join in, and it's just a push, and it's kind of like supporting it to support SJW causes. Like we said, this is Ghostbusters 2016 all again. The critics are all going to support it because otherwise they'll get outed and they won't get review copies or get to go to the screenings later. And now the fans like us, we're the ones that have to speak out and call out this BS, like this really, really silly and inappropriate scene. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Tell me what you think about Last of Us 2, what you think about this new scene that's leaked, and also if you're going to play or buy the game yourself. Looking forward to seeing what you have to say. Also, hit that like button to help us get shared. And until next time, you guys have a great day.